Hey, Tom here from the Run Testers with another running shoe guide. In this video, the majority of the Run Testers actually are going to be talking through their favourite 5k shoes. Now this isn't a complete list of the best 5k shoes out there at the moment, but we're going to go through each of our picks for 2 or 3 of the 5k shoes that we would individually choose for the different types of 5ks that we're doing. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the little bell icon. And if you want to support us by buying us a coffee, we've got a coffee account set up and you can find the link to that in the caption below. All right, let's delve into some 5k shoes. Before we start, I should probably say that some of the shoes that we talk about in this video are going to be picked by other run testers as well. And that's because this video isn't about the best shoe. We're not going to go into too much depth about these shoes. It's more about the types of runner that we are and why we pick these shoes. So with that in mind, my first pick is the Nike Vaporfly and Vaporfly 2. Now, the type of runner that I am, when I run 5k, it's pretty much always to race. I never really train at 5k. I never do 5k at a slower pace. 5k is pretty much my fast race distance, and it's the distance that I always use as the benchmark for my training. So if I'm building up speed, I use my 5k to see how fast I'm getting and then apply that to my 10k and half marathon distances based on the speed that I've accumulated in a 5k. So the Vaporfly and Vaporfly 2 has always been my favourite shoe for any distance really. I just think it's a fantastic option, whether that's a 5k or a marathon, and I've never found a shoe that I can get faster times in than the Vaporfly. It just feels light, it feels bouncy, it just makes me feel like I can run faster at all of those distances. And I've never found anything that I would use instead of this. So apart from testing shoes, I will always go for the Vaporfly as my 5k option. Coming in a close second is the Asics Metaspeed Sky. Now this shoe came out last year and I loved it straight away. It's the shoe that I've ran in that feels closest to the Vaporfly. It feels light, it feels bouncy. I don't think it feels as propulsive or as light as the Vaporfly. So I don't tend to use this for the shorter distances if I've got a Vaporfly to go for, but I still will go for this one as my second pick for 5k distance all the way up to marathon. And if a Vaporfly didn't exist, this would be my go-to shoe for all of those distances. It's just very comfortable. It feels very propulsive and it's really enjoyable to run in. My third pick, and I can't for the life of me find it in my flat, so I can't hold it up to show you it, is the North Face Flight Vectiv. Now this shoe is one of the few trail shoes that uses a full-length carbon plate in it. And as a result, it makes it a really similar experience to road carbon plate shoes. It is by no means a shoe designed for British trail running, especially in mud. It's got a very low lug level on it, so it actually delivers more like a trail shoe. That's why I would choose this shoe if I was going to do a park run and I wanted to be able to deal with slightly more gravel ground, more compact trails, where it's similar to road, but I need just a little bit more grip and a little bit more in terms of protection in the midsole and the outsole than I would get in a Vaporfly or a Metaspeed Sky. It doesn't feel exactly like the road race shoe alternatives that are out there, like the Vaporfly. It's a little bit harder, a little bit firmer, but it does feel very light in comparison to most trail shoes that I would normally run in. So I think it's a great option if you're doing a park run and your park run isn't on complete concrete paths. You might be going over mud, you might be going over rocks. This is a good option to go for if you don't want to destroy your expensive carbon plate race shoes and you want something that's going to be able to tackle that harder terrain a little bit easier. So that's my third pick, the North Face Flight Vectiv.
So I love racing 5Ks, and racing is probably the key word here. If I am doing a 5K, it's usually a race for my club, going all out for a PB on a flat road course, or pushing hard at a park run, either just for the sake of it or as part of like a hard training session on a Saturday morning. So I picked out kind of 3 quite fast shoes here, because if I'm going to go and just kind of mooch a 5K, I'm pretty happy in any shoe. My first pick is, well, it's the Vaporfly, like everyone else. Vaporfly Next% 2. This is the shoe I have my 5k PB in of 1540. It's the shoe I'm probably going to use next month when I go for another 5k PB. You know, everyone knows how great this shoe is. It's very light, comfortable, propulsive. Don't need to say too much more about it. And the added benefit, obviously, of the Vaporfly is that it's also fantastic for race distances well beyond 5k, you know, all the way up to the marathon, and even beyond if you're on the roads. I will say that the Kumi Sen 8 does run the Vaporfly very close over 5k, and it's cheaper, lighter, lower. You know, maybe you can attack corners more aggressively in it. So I think it's a really good option if you do stick mainly to the short stuff in terms of racing, the Takumi Sen, but the Vaporfly is still the one I pick for an all-out shot at a 5k PB. My next pick is the Skechers Go Run Speed Elite Hyper, mainly for a very specific purpose, which is track 5,000 meter races. This is a track legal shoe. It has a heel stack of 23 millimeters. You know, so on the World Athletics list, it's legal for track races over 800 meters. And though I don't do loads of them, I'll probably do kind of maybe 1 or 2 track races a year. And this is the shoe I go to for kind of anything from 3,000 meters up. Obviously you can use a spike, and today's spikes are very comfortable, but I find this more protective, more comfortable, and that just means I feel that you're going to be stronger in the latter stages of a race, even over just 3,000 meters. So I used this for a 3,000 meter race last year, and any 5,000 meter races I have coming up this year, I'll be using the Speed Elite Hyper. It's exceptionally light, you know, just like a racing flat, but you're getting, you know, that 4-foot kind of winglet carbon infused plate plus Skechers really impressive hyperburst foam, and together those make it, I think, a faster, more efficient option than a traditional racing flat. And it's also just a tad more protective than flats as well, I find. I think probably the only flat that kind of really runs it quite close in terms of protection and speed is the Salomon Phantasm, but yeah, this has that 4-foot plate. I just think it delivers a more impressive performance when you're, you know, racing really hard over kind of longer distances on the track. I think it's also obviously a great option for road 5Ks. I just don't think it's up to the standard of things like the Vaporfly and the Takumi Sen, and it's not a shoe I'd be pushing, you know, any kind of long distances on the roads, just because, you know, it's not as protective as the high stack super shoes out there. And then my last pick, geared around Parkrun, is the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite, which is, you know, just another road racing carbon shoe. But yeah, if I am going to go and do a Parkrun, do it hard, you know, I'm probably going to pick one that's light trails, you know, at worst. And this has a big advantage over other carbon shoes. In the outsole is really very grippy. This is Puma Grip LT, so not the full Puma grip you get on kind of other shoes in Puma's range, but it still grips really well. Like during training last year, I did a half marathon, you know, a good pace, kind of like a 1:15 half marathon, running hard on light trails on like an old disused railway, and it was a little bit muddy, and I just didn't have any problems with grip in the shoe because it does bite into that ground well. Obviously anything that's too deep in terms of mud, it won't work, but yeah, if you're on light trails running really hard in a park run, the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite is a great option. I also ran a sub-16 5k race in it last year. It's got the chops on the road. It's got the kind of super foam in there, a Puma-based super foam, and a full-length carbon plate. It's very close to the performance of things like the Vaporfly for me, especially over 5k, and it does protect the legs nicely, so you can use it for lots of training and longer events as well, though I might not go all the way up to a marathon in it, just because I think, even though it could do it perfectly well, I think that you get a bit more protection, which would serve me better in shoes like the Vaporfly and Alphafly. And then I suppose if I am on a park run and it's going to be super, super slick, I obviously still probably couldn't use the Puma. I'd probably switch to something like my cross-country racing shoe, which is the Adidas Terex Speed Pro SG, which has, you know, deeper lugs, but it's still nice and lightweight and fast.
Hi runners, I'm Laura. If you are just getting into running and that's why you're here on a video talking about 5k shoes, maybe you're starting to think about doing your first 5k race, maybe you've done a couple of park runs and you wanting to improve, I would say get a neutral shoe that's comfortable and that can take care of your runs during the week and then your little blast at the 5k at the weekend. Now, I would recommend the Adidas Ultraboost 22. It's exactly that. It's a comfortable shoe. It's nice to run in. It's not too technical. We're not talking like those speedy carbon plate shoes, because you want something, if you're doing not that much mileage, you're running maybe 3 times a week, you don't need loads of different shoes, different distances. One that can take you on your runs during the week, nice and reliable, nice and comfortable, and it is a little bit nippy if you wanting that little bit of a boost, like it says in the name. If you're wanting a little bit of a boost for when you do pick up the pace on the weekend, trying to get that shave that little bit off your 5k time, which you'll do quite rapidly when you get started. So I think this is good. It's a neutral shoe, nice and comfortable. It feels nice and bouncy to run in, and it's gonna it's going to do everything that you need really at this stage. The On Cloudvista. So I've been running in this for a while now. Stayed quite fresh, but it was because we've not had that much mud where we are at the moment. But I've been running in it for a while, and I do stand by my first thoughts of it, which is it's a nice nippy shoe, and if you're doing a park run that's got that mixture of trail, pavement, path, gravel, it can do all of that. It's very versatile shoe. It'll do that door to trail that it's designed for, but it's nice and lightweight, and it's good for going a bit faster over that kind of ground. You can feel your heel pick up, as there's not a lot of weight on it, and it is a good shoe for, I think, racing over an uneven 5k. Nothing too technical. You're not going to be running up Mont Blanc on this, but it is nice for your average park run where you're going to be finding a lot of different terrain. And I know that in my new local park run, even though it's all nice and flat tarmac paths, it's quite a lot of people in that first bit. So I do find you have to run a bit on the grass, on the mud a bit to get round people if you're not well placed at the start. So this is a good option, and it's very comfortable on the road and pavement. You know, you're not kind of choosing one over the other. It can cope with it all. So that's it on Cloudvista.
So my first pick for the best 5k shoe on this list won't come as a huge surprise, because I know that loads of other run testers have picked this one as well. It is the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 2. I mean, this is just a shoe that you want to run fast in. When you put it on, you kind of, for me, it sort of switches me into race mode. It's got all the pop, all the propulsion, enough cushioning, it's light, it's nimble, it's agile, it's good for cornering. For me, it's just a shoe that it makes me want to sort of go out and run fast and run hard. It's great over a marathon distance, but also I think kind of even scaling it back and going over short distance like 5k, it works for me. I know that I feel those efficiency gains over a longer distance, and there's no reason that would change over a shorter distance too. So for me, that's the shoe, Next Percent 2. Second up for me might be a little bit more controversial. It's a shoe that I know some people haven't necessarily enjoyed 100%. It's the Nike Streakfly. The Streakfly for me, when I first put it on, this is a joyous shoe to run in. It does kind of compress quite a lot, but I still think there's enough sort of rebound on that. And it's a light kind of racy shoe that I've really enjoyed going out and running hard and fast in. I think, again, it's another shoe that when I put on, I feel kind of light, I feel agile, I feel nimble, and I feel like this one is kind of really good in terms of going out and kind of smashing those hard 5k times. I guess with the Streakfly, one thing people might say is there's not a huge amount of protection here. You know, when it squishes down, you almost feel that kind of the ground underneath is always coming up to your feet, and then I find just at the point where it feels like it's going to be too much, off it springs and off you go. But some people might find that this shoe isn't really protective enough. I don't mind that. Over a short distance, 3 miles, I'm happy to kind of go out and run in this shoe with that kind of sensation underfoot. So number 2 for me, that's the Nike Streakfly. Now then, the 5k kind of off-roady sort of park run shoe for me, new one that I tested only recently, it's the North Face Vectiv Enduris 2. Now this is a shoe that has just the right kind of lug depth. It's not too sticky, not too much traction there, that I think, you know, if you've got a bit of a mixed park run that's going to take you onto some of the kind of off runs, some kind of park trails that might be a little bit wet sometimes in the winter, those kind of things, some on little bits of tarmac, then I think this shoe has got great crossover potential. I actually ran a lot in this shoe on the roads, and it ran to me almost as good as a road shoe in some respects. You know, it's not an out and out kind of fast sort of 5k shoe. It is a trailer, but for those kind of mixed terrain runs, I think this one has got plenty of rebound in it. There's plenty of response, good amount of cushioning. I can corner well on it in sort of tight corners. It's got good grip. I feel light and kind of agile again in this shoe, and that's one that I would definitely, particularly if you're looking at a park run that might be a little bit wetter or a little bit more kind of slippy, where you've got a bit more off-road, the North Face Vectiv Enduris 2 would be my choice.
So my first top 5k shoe pick will be this, the Hoka Rocket X. Now this is kind of priced in at £140, but you definitely can pick it up for cheaper. The first one I did in this shoe was a quick 5k. I've set my 5k PB in this. I've set a kind of 10k PB in this. So for that kind of shorter stuff, I think it really excels. And that comes down for me to a few things. The first thing would be that this upper is nice and light. It kind of wraps around the foot in a kind of really kind of nice way, you know, locks everything in place, which you know, I think you kind of want when you're kind of running or racing at that kind of speed that you want, you know, at a 5k. You've got an outsole, you know, it does, you know, keep things relatively kind of down in terms of weight, in terms of where you're getting that kind of extra grip, but for roads it's absolutely fine in terms of the areas. And then you've got that midsole, you've got that carbon fiber plate. I think when you engage that midsole at speed, it feels kind of really nice and responsive. You know, you've got that kind of meta rocker kind of feeling in there to kind of push you forward and give you that kind of propulsive kind of feel in the shoe. And I think if you want to run quick in something, particularly at that 5k kind of distance, this is a shoe that really excels at that kind of speed, at that kind of distance. As I say, it's a shoe that has worked really well for me in my 5ks. And I think, you know, if you want a shoe that's well equipped for quick 5k running, this is a shoe to definitely consider. So my second 5k shoe pick is this. This is the Skechers Speed Elite Hyper. This is a shoe that, yeah, it definitely isn't designed for more than I think 5 or 10k in terms of running, but I think it kind of shorter stuff, it's where it really excels. I think the first thing for me is it is extremely light. I mean, there's barely anything to this upper in terms of what you're getting here. I love a light shoe. I think, you know, if you're racing, you want a nice light upper, and that's what you get on this shoe. And then you've got this kind of midsole, which I think is really nice and responsive. And then you've got this kind of carbon infused plate here at the front, which kind of, I think, gives a really nice snappy feel in this shoe. I've done track sessions in this. I've done some quicker road stuff on this. You've got this kind of nice kind of Goodyear outsole as well, which gives you kind of extra kind of traction in those kind of key areas up front and the back of the shoe. It just feels really nice to me to run quick in. I definitely on that shorter stuff as well. So I think if you're looking for a kind of a quick 5k shoe, whether you're doing that on road or whether you're doing that even in a kind of track session, this is a really strong shoe for me to pick. I've had a really good experience with this. It's a shoe that I still kind of pick up for kind of track sessions and quicker 5k stuff as well, and one I would potentially race in as well too. So yeah, that is my second 5k shoe pick, the Skechers Speed Elite Hyper. So my third 5k top shoe pick is this, the Saucony Endorphin Speed 2. I've run plenty of quick 5ks in this shoe. I think it's well equipped for that. It is a shoe that's very versatile in terms of the runs you can do. But I think if you want to do the shorter stuff and do that shorter stuff at a quicker pace, this is a shoe that you can do that in. I think the first thing I would say is, you know, this upper, you know, it works really nicely in terms of, you know, being light, giving you just about enough padding, I think, and protection. But also it's really about locking you in and locking your foot in to get ready for kind of race mode. And then you go down further down this shoe and you've got that Parkrun cushioning tech. You've got that nylon plate, which is nice and responsive. And then you've got that speed roll kind of technology that Saucony uses here that really kind of pushes you forward and rolls you forward. And you do get that sensation at speed. And I think that's what really comes through in the kind of shorter stuff in the shoe. I think the outsole is pretty strong as well. You know, you've got that kind of extra kind of grip and traction up front in the shoe, particularly when you're going to be up on your toes because of that speed roll tech. Yeah, I think it's a really strong 5k option. I think if you're looking for a shoe to run a little bit quicker in and then kind of ease off if you need to ease off, this is a really strong shoe to do it. And yeah, it's one of my kind of top 5k shoe picks.
Okay, 5k running shoes. I think we've all picked this, but I'm going to start with the Tempo Next Percent 2. I don't think you can go wrong with this for a running shoe. I think for a 5k, if I was going to race a 5k, I would definitely go for this. I've raced in other things, but I've also raced a marathon and a half marathon in this, and I just don't think you can go wrong. It's responsive, it's light, it's bouncy. You get what you pay for with this shoe. It's super quick, and I sometimes think, you know, if you're really going to try and push yourself over a 5k, why not wear the best of the best? I have raced a 5k in this. I find it really stable. I prefer it to the Vaporfly because it's got the lower stack and it is stable. It's a good amount of bouncy. It's definitely built for road 5Ks, not trail, but I just don't think you can go wrong. I think if I was going to race, I would reach for this. Probably wouldn't reach for it for a park run, just because, you know, you only get a certain amount of miles in this shoe and you don't really want to waste them. But definitely a racing shoe you absolutely cannot go wrong with. So the next shoe for 5K, the Fuelcell RC Elite. I really love this shoe. I think it's, I'm not sure if it's even still in stock, but I absolutely love it. It's really bouncy and responsive and very light, and it's quick. It does come up a little bit small compared to the Vaporfly. You know, I would say go half size up if you can find it anywhere. But I wouldn't wear this for a longer race or a marathon, just because I find there's not a lot of support at all in the kind of inside of the shoe. So if, like me, you kind of pronate a little bit, by the end of a half marathon or even a marathon, you're definitely going to feel it, I think, on the ankle in this shoe. If you're a neutral runner, go for it. But I would reach for even a 5K, because I think, you know, if you're running quick over a 5K, you're not, do you mean, you can, you'll get away with it. You know, it's a bit more forgiving 5K than a longer race. But I would definitely race in this. I absolutely love it. Again, super soft, super responsive, super light, big old stack height, big old foam. But again, a road shoe, can't go wrong with it. I absolutely love it. But again, I'd probably pick this for a 5K and maybe save these for a longer race, the Vaporfly that is, because I wouldn't wear these over longer distances. I wear them for shorter tempos, and I would wear them for a 5K. So yeah, the New Balance RC Elite, lightweight tongue, lightweight upper. I mean, they look great, super soft foam, and yeah, they're a fantastic shoe. But again, I'm not sure. I think they might be out of stock now. I got these a couple of years ago in the middle of the pandemic, so they're probably a couple of years old, but you can't go wrong with them. They're absolutely brilliant. And then last, but by no means least, a traily park run. I live near Bushy Park now, so if I'm going to go and do their park run, the Nike Pegasus 36 Trail. I love this shoe. I've tried the two and newer, this is a few years old now, and I've tried the newer versions of it, and they just don't compare. I think, like many Pegasus fans, the 36 was the top for me, and they've just gone. I've not loved any Pegasus since 36 as much. I still like them, but not as much. It's a great shoe. It feels like a road shoe on the trail. I'm not a kind of fan of that really light, you know, really hard, low trail shoe. So I definitely pick this. A good amount of grip, probably not enough grip if you're really, you know, going on like a trail adventure. But for, you know, a traily park run, you're not going to need much more than that, are you? Responsive, feel comfortable, feels like a road shoe, fits like a road shoe, but on the trail. And as you can see, I mean, I have worn these to death. I absolutely love them. They just fit really well. They're breathable, and they've got the kind of same, you know, everything you'd expect from the Pegasus, but with a good amount of grip. I have tried the two newer versions of the Trail. The Trail, I think they called it the Nike Trail 1 and the Nike Trail 2, which was the kind of subsequent versions of these. Didn't love them as much, still good shoes, but if you can find this anywhere, I really love this shoe.
Thanks a lot for watching. We hope you found that useful, and there's a runner in our guide that has similar aims to what you're looking for when it comes to 5Ks. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click that little bell icon, and check the channel out for all the other videos we've got from the latest road and trail shoes, as well as headphones and watches out at the moment. If you want to support the channel, we also have a coffee account set up now, so if you go into the captions below, you can check that out and buy one or all of us a coffee if you want to. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks a lot. See you soon.